Hey everybody, Sandy here at K Montoli, and we are back for another Vintage League, and we are playing Hexvine today. We were able to win a challenge last weekend with this deck, and I think first of all, the deck is very powerful and consistent, and secondly, I think there's a lot of design space left in this list, and today we're trying a few tasty treats out. You unfortunately have to wait to sideboard to see them. I didn't get to a deck tech before the league started, but let's see how we're doing. Yoshiwado is typically a bug player. I like this. We've got an answer for turn one Deathrite. We're going to keep this. We've got a hollow one. Nice looking hand. One of the things that is an interesting feature of this deck is it is awkward. The discard equity is not as high as something like the Jund version of Hogak Vine, where you've got Bloodghast to discard. So here's a situation where, next turn, let's see, what are we going to get rid of? I think we're going to get rid of all these because next turn we can bring the Vine back because we have Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, and I am playing 3 of these today. One of the things people don't realize, I've seen people picking the deck up a lot recently since Canister made the list about a month and a half ago, and one of the things people don't realize when playing this deck is you do not need to be proactive when casting your Bazaar. You don't have to Bazaar every turn. It just, the card quality in this deck is high. So my opponent may want to force here, and this is totally fine for us. I do realize that the spurs their mana on, but we're going to be able to get the Vine out of our yard here before they can do anything. And kind of, we're somewhat off our Bazaar here, right? We're going to tap this one first, and we're going to cast the second one, animating our Vine. And this is very powerful. The Hexdrinker is a significant threat here. And next turn we can Wasteland. Or we can pump up our Hexdrinker and get it out of decay range or trophy range. We do run a basic in our sideboard for trophy. Okay, my opponent's conceded. So nice clean win for us there. Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth looked very strong. I'm trying Scavenging Ooze out in our list. The reason being is that Gaia's Cradle can turn this card into an absolute powerhouse in one single turn. It's just a threat, and when you're playing against things like Tarmogoyfs and opposing Deathrite Shamans, it's pretty good. I think Chalice is pretty poor. We're not really interested in Force of Vigor. I could see some semblance of Endurance coming in for the same reason as Scavenging Ooze, is to control the graveyard in a pinch, maybe ambush a Tarmogoyf. Fairly powerful. What is poor in this matchup? I think Collector Roof is likely not where we want to be. I could see valuing the flash creature and managing their yards. I don't think we need a third Boseiju. This feels reasonable. Yeah, this is a really nice looking hand. Obviously, as always with these types of decks, you are vulnerable somewhat to a Tabernacle. Well, that's the life you live when you play Bazaar. Perhaps we can find a Moxen off the top. Right, take out Collector Roofs, and look what my bug opponent has here. That does not bug. Okay. So maybe Collector Roof is a little bit more viable than we're giving it credit for. And just a Deathrite pass. Look at this. Wow. It's impressive. Pretty good start for my opponent. For a mid-range deck, eh? So, I mean, my opponent has just had a tremendous start to their game here. It's going to be very difficult for me to be able to beat them with 6 cards in their hand here, but that is the life we are living. I mean, we're just going to start deploying here and do what our deck does, and hopefully we don't get tabernacled. And we're going to cast Hollow One here. It's possible they could Dock Fade us here as well, but we will do our best. There's the tab. Okay. Easy game for them, right? Never fun getting caught by Tabernacle when you have so much board presence, but that is what happens. We are going to spin. Hopefully they do not have Hull Breacher. I cannot play around it. So get our vine going again. I don't really want to put those cards back on top of their library. They're both pretty good, huh? Okay, that was solid. Wasteland, okay. Yep, we've already done our damage there, though. Yeah, so there's Dock Fade. Okay, that's going to get us. That's going to get us. Okay, so I do think Collector Roof is likely better than we were giving it credit for there. I also think Chalice is pretty reasonable, given what we just saw. Don't think we need all the endurances. I also don't think Scavenging Ooze is likely very good here. It's awkward. Leyline, okay. It's pretty brutal, to be honest. I normally don't get excited about Leyline, but this particular instance, it is looking decent against what we're doing. I value my lands quite highly in this situation. Let's see if we can get a Hollow One in. This could be a Force of Will. And let's see if they got the tab. Wasteland, okay. That's much better as far as I'm concerned here. Powder is not what we want. I think I'm going to play the basic forest here. And the reason is I would like the opportunity to cast a Collector Roof next turn. But I think it will be contingent on what my opponent plays. Is this a Deathrite? It is. Okay, I can't stop that. That's unfortunate. My opponent's got quite a bit of cards in hand here. Okay, that's actually decent for us. Now, it's a risk. We might lose our oof here if they have Tabernacle, but I do think it's worthwhile doing. I'm going to Wasteland them here, and then I'm going to attempt to play a Collector Roof. They might force this. They are. Okay, they just are more worried about the beatdown, I think, coming versus maybe the artifacts that they might have in their hand. We have a lot of live draws here. Oh, they did have a Mox. Okay. This is a Dak Faden. It is too. Geez, Dak is really strong against me here. Yep. All right. Dak Faden is not a commonly played card anymore in Vintage. And looking very good here. I haven't had to really contest with my hollow ones being stolen in quite some time. It's just not something we commonly see anymore. I think what we're looking for here is a Hexdrinker. A Hexdrinker we can put out of range pretty quickly, in one turn as a matter of fact, from removal. My opponent has Wasteland here. Okay, Oko, yep. So this one has gotten away from us here. What started out, I think, as a reasonable start to our game has fallen away here quickly. Think we can concede this one here. There's not likely much point in continuing to play this game here. I can't really block the hollow one here. I'm not trading with a food token. We may as well get ourselves a better chance of being able to get a Hexdrinker into play and pumping it out of range. I think that is worth casting the Serum Powder here. These decks are very reliant on Deathrite Shaman to be able to get their mana going. They're very greedy mana bases. Like when you're playing a 4-color deck and you have a Wasteland in your deck, like boy is that Cavalier. But that said, when they're left unaccosted for the most part, their mana base, they're very powerful decks. Yep. All right. I think this is going to be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we're going to see you for round 2. Okay, guys, here we are for round 2 of the Vintage League. We are playing Hexdrinker Bazaar today. We've won the die roll. That's a pretty easy powder. Much nicer. We're going to have a turn 1 Vine here on the play, which is strong. And a turn 2 Collector Roof. My opponent, I believe, is a combo player, so hopefully they can't go off on us on turn 1. They did keep their 7. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? Here's the thing is, what do I value more? That Bazaar or the Once Upon a Time? Because Bazaar seems really good next turn if I can hold that up. I think it would be greedy of me to play the Bazaar or play the Once Upon a Time there. Because if we get into trouble with Sphinx of the Steel Wind here this next turn, like we have an opportunity to deal with it. Okay, that's good news that they did that. Because that means that they probably don't have anything super going on. We have the option next turn of casting a Collector Roof if my opponent doesn't do anything to me. What did they pitch here? A Hull Breacher. Okay, good to know about. Definitely want a Bazaar here. Wonder if they're playing Breach. I'm going to try a Scavenging Ooze maybe, just to see what it can do for me. Might bring in a Miser Endurance here. You ask, why don't I bring in the Deathrite Shaman against Breach, which is traditionally very good, but in the mono green version, it does absolutely nothing other than hit lands out of my opponent's deck, which can smooth my mana, which is maybe a reason to slow their Breach part down, but it ultimately doesn't get the combo. Yeah, this is a pretty reasonable hand. Okay, Soul Ring. Spell Bomb. So we are going to Force of Vigor proactively here. If my opponent plays a Mox Opal, I will do it with it on the stack, but we're going to put my opponent to the test here. Now, I think that it's going to be pretty hard for me to cast Collector Roof up against my opponent, and we are going to have to discard some cards next turn. I think what I'm going to do is get rid of the Collector Roof here, and we have 3 more in our deck if we need to find them. So my opponent needs to decide if they want to force a will here. Okay, so that worked out pretty good. I am going to proactively wasteland my opponent here. This is a gambit. I have no idea what my opponent has in their hand, but sometimes when you have a Soul Ring in your hand and you have Filtering and a Nihil Spell Bomb, you think that you might be safe from that. But I think that sometimes you can just get your opponent with a random wasteland after you take their mana rocks away. So let's see what happens here. How badly did we get punished for that? As you can see, that was a very good wasteland for us. We are vulnerable to Tabernacle here, but I'm not going to play around it. I am going to make my opponent show it to me. I think I'm going to keep the green Root Walla and put into play the red ones here. Basically, why I'm doing that is, one, it keeps that endurance live. Number 2, I'm mitigating somewhat against a Tabernacle, really at the expense of only playing a 1/1. And it's an easy discard, being the most important piece with the Serum Powder. It's a dead card in my hand, and we just have to hope my opponent is faltered here. But it's very realistic. My opponent could be sitting on a Tabernacle. But my philosophy in general is, unless there's alarm bells going off, I make my opponent have Tabernacle, because the risk in playing around it is that you're giving up huge equity against a combo deck, and you don't want to do that typically. So likelihood of hitting a Vine is probably pretty low. I do like these cards in my hand. That said, I think we can do better here. I'm a little bit on the rocks about we can't do it all. Like, casting Collector Roof is going to be really difficult to do. I just value my lands a lot more than I do the other creatures. We are going to be able to play, if they're forcing this, they are absolutely in a desperate, desperate place, which of course I know they are already. And we are not in the safe here, because my opponent is very likely sitting on their Moxen to protect it if they have one. I'm going to cast a Hollow One. This is likely to get forced based on what they've been doing, but this gives us some safety from Tabernacle here. If they do put on an Urza Saga on the stack, we can hit it. Okay. Nice and easy win there for us. Our Wasteland was the key player there for us. We were able to take our opponent off land. Of course, resolving a Force of Vigor is no slouch either, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we're going to see you for round 3. Okay, guys, here we are back for round 3 of our Vintage League. We are playing Hexdrinker Bazaar today, and this looks like a real nice hand. Unfortunately, we did not win the die roll, but the nice thing is we do have some interaction in this particular hand in Force of Vigor if we get into a pinch. Yep. So I realize that we are vulnerable here to a Flusterstorm. I think I like Collector Roof here. Then again, Yeah, I think we just get the root walla here. I am going to put my opponent to the test right now. They did not go for my Once Upon a Time. We're just going to put Hexdrinker away and see if they have it. Okay, so they do have it. Very good restraint on their part. Okay, Hull Breacher, pretty good. So we are just going to play into the Breacher here. I'm sad to give them the Moxen, but there's nothing we can do about that. We're just going to make them, we're just going to put them right to the test here. Sometimes you just have to play into Hull Breacher, and it's always suboptimal to do so. But this is a situation where we're going to have the biggest creature on the table here. And any type of Gaia's Cradle off the top is, or Yavimaya Cradle is going to be solid for us. If we get wheeled, it's game over, but that's the way it goes. My opponent just plays like an Urza Saga pass, and we can continue our beatdown. And yes, Bazaar is shut off likely as long as the Hull Breacher is in the game here, but currently we are the beatdown. And any green producing mana off the top is very powerful here. Well, that's a bit of a scary brainstorm. It's a Dak Faden? Breach, okay. Okay, that's game. I guess let's see what they've got here. I don't think there's a reason to be not take a peek at their deck. I mean, there's no surprises these days with these decks. They're just very confluent in the metagame. So they have Sagas. Okay, Lotus. We're not likely to glean a lot more information here. My opponent is probably going to mill themselves, maybe 2 to 3 triggers maximum, but we may as well take a look. But I think it depends on how they stack it, because I don't really want to show them too much of my deck, despite what I'm playing is very well known as well. I guess my question is are they an overt breach deck? How many breaches are they actually running in their deck? That's the question that I'm wondering about. So hopefully they stack incorrectly and they target themselves first before start targeting me. They're all them. Dak Faden, Needle main deck, eh? There's a breach. Okay. I think that's good enough for me. Yeah. All right. So I think we do want our Endurance is here. Let's see how we can make this work. We definitely want our Baseju. Very important card here. In the play, I don't think I want Mind Break Traps. I'm more interested in deploying my own game plan. Hogak, I think I've cut. I've been finding myself cutting Hogak quite a bit. I don't think Hexdrinker is likely doing a ton for me. I think I'm going to cut back on Force of Vigor. These decks are not like PO decks in that they've got like super turbo turn ones. Like they're kind of building up to their breach kill. Perhaps I could try Scavenging Ooze for science here. Maybe I just cut I kind of like Hexdrinker a fair bit. Do I need all these lands? Okay, didn't end up getting there this turn, but if we get to a game 3, we can do that. Mulligan this one. This looks like a really nice hand here. Keep this one. What do you want to put away here? I think the Mox is likely to have very limited value here because I'm going to try and resolve a Collector Roof. And if I do get into trouble that requires my Bazaar here, I do have a Force of Vigor somewhere down the line, perhaps. The issue here that I'm faced with, and likely going to be moot point, is that I'm going to have to discard the Vigor anyways. We'll see what we draw off the Bazaar, but I think this is a pretty good spot to be in. And if they have Leyline, like, this is once again a depiction of how poor Leyline of the Void typically is against us. Not to intone it can't be impactful, but it's usually not the greatest. And play with the Black Lotus first. I want to make sure it resolves to give me some indication of what I need to discard. So we can definitely discard this. We can discard this, and we can discard the Force of Vigor. We are vulnerable to Tabernacle the way I'm playing this, but I just think that that's what we have to do here. If my opponent forces, it will make me feel secure. And, I mean, it just is what it is. I'm not willing to play around Tabernacle here. And we do lose the game if they have it, but it's also an extremely powerful play, turning off their fast mana here. Okay, so our Gambit worked here. We've got a number of cards that we can just cast off the top with Gaia's Cradle. Okay. Can't quite get that one. I am going to play the Cradle here, and I'm not going to spin my Bazaar here. At least not yet. And this keeps us away from a Hull Breacher for now. I guess this is a Vampiric Tutor. So they're going to... Oh, an Ancestral. Okay, I much prefer an Ancestral than I do a Vampiric Tutor, because that means my Oof would be dead. So it's an interesting conundrum here, because I have the ability to churn at the end of the turn, and I have the ability to churn in my upkeep here. Yeah. Or do I take a chance that I'm going to draw a mana producer that can cast the Vengevine during my turn, or I have higher card equity, and spinning my Bazaar. And I think this turn I'm going to gamble on drawing something relevant off my Bazaar. So let's see here. Always pay attention to Hull Breacher. Okay, here's a Cradle. That does not help our current situation. So this is an interesting situation here. I think I'm actually giving up on the Vengevine, and I'm going to put a second Bazaar into play. And I am just going to spin my Bazaar right now and see if we find any root wallas. We didn't. But the good news is that we're going to have 2 free spins off the Bazaar next turn, depending on what they do. Yes, they can get something into play to block my oof off the Urza Saga next turn, potentially. Are they trying to spin their top? Oh, they got a Brainstorm. Okay. We're in a bit of a precarious spot. I don't know that I liked the way I played that line there. I probably should have waited to the end of their turn to Bazaar. But of course, the risk in that is them playing a Hull Breacher in response, which isn't the worst because there is a Collector Roof in play. So making them show their colors is not irrelevant here. So we are going to be looking at, in the minimum, a 2-2 Saga. This is going to put them to 4. So they do a Hull Breacher. The Hull Breacher has to block this. And this puts them to 1. I think it is worth doing it here. If they want a Hull Breach, I think it's worth it. And I'm still going to get a spin on my Bazaar. Let's hope we can draw something here, guys. Okay, it's not bad. I'm going to cast it right now. Is there a reason to do that? Sure. I really don't think there's a great reason, but can have Endurance next turn if they try and combo, but it's not going to be easy. I guess I just cast a hollow one here. And I'm going to put them to the test. They're going to take away my Collector Roof here, right? Well, they can't. They get this thing up. It has to block my hollow one because they have to fetch. It puts them to 4. So I think we have a pretty free attack here. I realize taking them off of Collector Roof here is would be really awkward, but I believe, given they have something else in their hand, that they have to block the hollow one here. And this also shuts off Force of Will. Okay. So we are F6'd here. It is going to be hard for them to be able to combo us out here with Collector Roof in play. We would probably be dead without the Collector Roof. Okay, so I think we played that game pretty well. I think that was a situation that, you know, if we had something like a Scavenging Ooze in play with that Gaea's Cradle in play, it could have been pretty good for us. Now, I think I'm a little more apt to try the Mindbreak traps. I think I'm a little bit more on the defensive side of things here now. To be clear, Mindbreak Trap is a card I'm actively testing, and I do believe it to be a necessary evil. As I mentioned, this particular deck, I don't know that Mind Break Trap is actually good against them, other than when they're comboing off. But of course, it could be life-saving. Where I see it being a relevant card is when we're getting turn one, and usually it's a deck like Doomsday or PO that's doing that. So I think it is just a concession to a necessary evil. I think this is fine. Okay, I mean, it's a little bit of an awkward hand, obviously. We've got three undesirables and two Once Upon a Times and a Serum Powder, but I do think that this is probably okay. I'm going to keep it. Once again, Leyline of the Void, not looking overly sharp against us. We're going to play it out and see if we can't bait a counterspell out of my opponent. Despite I would obviously like this to resolve. I think we have other things going on here. Okay, so they did not get into a battle with us here. Is Endurance an important card here? I don't think so at this stage. We have a Bazaar of Baghdad to be able to shore this up for us. At least in the interim we do. So I think we just do our thing here. Once again, we're vulnerable to Tabernacle. Because we're on the draw, I am far more incentivized to be able to lay my beatdown plan on early. Because they're not much farther ahead of us on the combo strategy. So we're just going to do our thing here. And what we're actively looking for is a Gaia's Cradle now, because I believe Gaia's Cradle can really shore this game up. One, we've got the beatdown plan, should we choose to do that. Is it Vampiric? Nope, basic, okay. All right, so what does that mean? Likely a Tinker. Yeah, so what do I think about Tinker? There's not much I can actually do about it. And the problem with Tinker is that if they go for a Sphinx, ooh. Do I Vigor them here? Sink of the Steel one is a tough one for us. But we have three Besagers in our deck. I think I'm going to be proactive. The Leyline of the Void is not great, but if I can buy Tempo for one more turn, let's do this. Interesting decision point there between Scavenging Ooze and Once Upon a Time, because Once Upon a Time is a card I potentially could go and find. I'm not sure what that means. Ponder, okay. So maybe I stymied them for another turn. Let's see. I beg your pardon, excuse me. But having the two Once Upon a Times there could be very good for us. We know what our opponent's plan is. They have Tinker here, but look at that. No play. Okay. Well, I don't know that the Ooze just does enough here. We're hitting pretty good here. Citadel loses quite a bit of value. But I obviously would like to cast this Once Upon a Time here. I think I'm going to search for a collector roof here against my better judgment. I think that that card is the most impactful because it's very obvious my opponent has fast mana in their hand. Or a strip mine would be good here. So we kind of found a little bit of it all, right? I think I can get rid of the Yavimaya here. So I'm obviously telegraphing that I have something in my hand here. It could be a Force of Vigor. It could be a Boseiju as far as my opponent is concerned. What card I lose to is Blightsteel Colossus. That's probably going to be a big problem for me. And I will be punished greatly for not having pumped here. But there's a possibility we could survive a Blightsteel, maybe. Okay, so here comes the Tinker. And let's see what they have. Okay, so we have this beat. So we played this just flawlessly. And we're going to kill them right here. Yeah, so that was a really nice match, guys. I think we played that one fairly well. We identified what we needed to find to be able to manage them. And Sphinx of the Steel Wind is not what it once was because of the existence of this particular build of Hexvine. It's very reliable in casting against Boseiju, which is a super strong card against what these decks typically use to combat the strategy we're playing. And it normally works. When you look at something like the Jund version of this list, despite that deck definitely has its positive features, it is a lot less consistent in its ability to be able to cast Boseiju. At least in my opinion. That said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we're going to see you for round 5. Hey everybody, it's Andy here at Game On Silly. We're back for round 4 of our Vintage League. And we're playing Hexdrinker today. We won the die roll. It's an easy powder. I'm going to mulligan this one. I'm going to keep this one. And the reason is that we have a turn 1 collector roof on the play, which can be very powerful against a number of decks in the Vintage metagame. In addition to that, we also have a Boseiju the following turn if we need it. So I think that this is a worthwhile keep. It's speculative. The non-Bazaar hands are awkward, but when you have an opportunity at a turn 1 collector roof, it can be really powerful, guys. And I realize it's awkward having a double Yavimaya growth in hand, but if our opponent Wastelands is off it or whatever, be it, it's not bad having the redundancy. So it looks like we did take a good gambit here in that my opponent is obviously worried about it. Good news is that we have a Boseiju up next turn as a possibility. The bad news is that we're very reliant off the top of our deck to be able to address what they're doing. Okay, so we do have an answer to Oath of Druids here. What we don't have is an answer to 2 Oath of Druids. Hopefully this is not a time walk. That would be pretty devastating. All right. So if we did not have a Boseiju hand, we could have been in a lot more trouble against this deck. Now, I mean, there's just not much to do. I'm going to let my opponent give me a token here. I think I am going to play the Chalice at 0. I think that we're going to let our opponent do their thing here. They're going to give me a token, and in response, we're going to Boseiju. Not thrilled to give them a land here, but it is what it is. Buy ourselves a little bit of time here. And they have 2 cards in hand. And we are not far away from a Force of Vigor. What would be bad for me is an Oko here. Collector Roof. Not bad. So here's the conundrum. We're moving our way ourselves off Force of Vigor if they find an Oath. But I do think that, and we're also taking away our Mox here. But I think they obviously do not have an Oath. And I think that their deck can falter significantly. I feel like we need to be proactive and start beating down here. I mean, if my opponent wants to force a will this, I'm reasonably pleased with it. Okay. So this is going to be an Ancestral, unfortunately. But our deck is very heavy green based. There's a chance that we can draw a card for the Force of Vigor if they do find an Oath next turn. Demonic Tutor. Okay. So this is likely to be an Oath that they're going for here. I'm going to Demonic Tutor, go find themselves an Oath. If they have another land. Yep. Or they could just go and get an Ancestral too, which would be much more preferable. Oh, they just went and got an Oath. So we have a crack at finding a green card here. 2 green cards before we have a... Okay. I guess we can't really play around Flusterstorm here, but... Okay, here comes an Oath. We're going to Force of Vigor that, or attempt to. And it works. That was a good draw. Just anything we can beat down with here is super powerful. I wish it was a Hexdrinker, but it's okay. And I probably will use the second Yavimaya to beat down next turn. Okay. Okay, a little bit awkward. And let's do our thing, right? Get my damage in where I can. Try and keep them off of Resolve Grizzlebrand. Any land off the top, I kill them. Okay. That was a very clean win for us, guys. The power of Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, and main deck Boseiju, very strong. I felt highly unfavored there. I don't know what variant of Oath they are on. I don't really feel like Hexdrinker is where I want to be against a combo deck, but if they're a Breach variant, I could see this being reasonable. Maybe a Scavenging Ooze. And why would I play Scavenging Ooze? Once again, it's for any type of Breach combo, but in addition to that, if they are also playing Gaia's Blessing, taking their Blessing out of their deck can really neuter what they're doing. I don't really like it, to be honest. Maybe I just prefer the free spell here. Okay, let's see what we can do. I mean, Chalice of the Void isn't great on the play or on the draw. Okay, we got a quick Force of Vigor. Chalice is pretty mediocre. You're going to put the powder back. You look at all these cards, and you have to realize, outside of the Moch, they're redundant. Having the Serum Powder in the deck seems like the least obvious choice, but you want to increase your percentage of being able to draw a hand that can interact with what your opponent's doing, and Serum Powder allows us to do that. Okay, this is pretty reasonable. It's a powerful hand, obviously very vulnerable to an Oath of Druids, but our draw step in Bazaar could put us into something like a Cradle and a Boseiju. Now, if they just have a turn 1 Oath, that's bad for us. Okay. So Tormod's Crypt unfortunately takes away a fair bit of our power here. I think I'm going to play the Chalice and play the Oath and pass turn. Play the Bazaar. There, what do they got? I don't even know what that means. They have an Ancestral? Obviously, yep. This is a gamble. How interesting, guys. And what I'm looking to do here is I'm looking to Force of Vigor their Oath of Druids in addition to their Tormod's Crypt. That is my game plan. Okay. Dak? Oh, it's an Oko. Pernicious Deed. Okay, interesting. They've already used a force. Okay. I'm going to keep their green Root Walla for Force of Vigor potentially. I also, because I have green mana in my deck and I do not have red, I have a higher prevalence of being able to cast it in a pinch if I need it. And I value the Once Upon a Time right now to be able to find me a Boseiju if we find a Cradle. So I'm not feeling good about this position, but I had hoped they were just going to cast a Oath of Druids and pass turn. Of course, they did one better. So we've bled a little bit of damage, not being able to play into the Tormod's Crypt during our main phase last turn, but a number of things did not go as I had anticipated they might. Beg your pardon, excuse me, but we're not in bad shape. We just need a bit of help, but that's all. And let's get her going, right? We want to... Ooh, Cradle. Okay. And this could set up a Boseiju next turn if I can find one. I did not. I'm going to cast a Hogak here. I think I just try and kill them, right? 1, 2, 3. I guess I just get a hollow one here. There's not a lot of point in pumping because I have to actually tap out to do this, but next turn I'm really threatening a lot of lethal. Okay. I mean, this is very lethal next turn. I mean, not even an Oko is going to be able to get him out of this one. Because of Cradle. Cradle pumps my two Basking Root Wallas. And, I mean, they can shut off my Hogak. Okay, guys, once again, that felt like a very good game from us. It was unorthodox. We were playing from a different angle in that we didn't have Bazaar in game one. We were just Yavimaya Cradle and Boseiju. Very strong. Uh, yeah, I don't know. That felt really good. I'm not accustomed to playing against Oath of Druids with this particular build of the deck, and we should be dogs against it. We were able to pull that one out pretty cleanly, and I think we found the lines that we needed to. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you guys for round 5. Hey everybody, it's Andy here, aka Montoli, and we are back for round 5 of our Vintage League. We're playing Hexdrinker Vine Bazaar deck today, and we have won the die roll. Let's see what we can do. I think Chalice is a really nice card here. I love Chalice out of this deck. The problem here for us is that our hand itself does not look very good. And so what happens if I don't find a Bazaar? Probably in a fair bit of trouble, right? I'm going to try it for science. See what we find. Okay, we did not get punished. We found the Bazaar. Okay. I think this is fine. I'm a little sad I might be playing into Mindbreak Trap here. The Chalice is the key reason I kept this hand. And I don't ever advise doing what I did there with Once Upon a Time. That was a clear, unnecessary gamble that I took. I felt like the rest of my hand was very solid, and that's why I was kind of, if I can find it, or a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, it completely turns my hand right on, and I'm going to play the non-combo part of my deck. If I found the Bazaar, it was even better because it helps me filter. But the Chalice is just such an important card in these types of matchups where your opponent could be playing any number of mocks, and on the play it's just so powerful. Now, if my opponent drops a Bazaar, it's not ideal. Mental misstep, I like that a lot. I think given that that's all my opponent did, I can't resist wastelanding. My opponent has just conceded. Now we're on the draw. I think my opponent is playing a Belcher style deck. I did see a post earlier that they were playing something to that effect, and as a result of that, I think it's probably worthwhile me addressing that. Now, I don't really know what their list is, but I think that having some number of answers to it is probably pretty good. I think we can cut shave down on that. I really just like all my lands in my deck. I don't think Hexdrinker is probably where I need to be in this matchup. Let's try something like this. Yeah, I like it. We have a misstep and a Mindbreak Trap if they go berserk on us. I like it. We have the potential for a Force of Vigor. We do have a Bazaar, and we have a Yavimaya Cradle should we find a Collector Roof, which would be very good against them. Okay, this is definitely like a Belcher-style deck. Grim Monolith, I cannot stop that. Let's see what they do. We're not cold to Pithing Needle because we have Yavimaya Cradle here. And that's bizarre, right? Oh, I like it. I mean, you can't have it all. I think we get rid of the Mox. The Yavimaya is just pretty important here. Okay. I don't think I'm going to Vigor in their upkeep. I hope I don't get punished for that, but if they like play a Belcher, you know, we're in quite a bit of trouble, but maybe we wanted to use Mindbreak Trap last turn instead of the Misstep. That is a possibility. Okay. 1. Metamorph. So I'm telegraphing I have a Vigor here. I think I Vigor them. I like all these cards. Mindbreak Trap has lost the majority of its value. I'm going to get myself going here. Now that's what I was looking for. That's what I wanted. Just don't combo me right here. This is a Belcher. Oh, Forge. Okay. Did not expect to see that, to be honest. Okay, maybe I've been a little glib in my play so far, but we're just going to get this into play here. It's very powerful against them. They do not have Force of Will in their hand because they have 1 card. Yavimaya Cradle of Growth really is a powerful card at turning on what you're stopping what your opponent is doing. Time Vault, okay. Bit scary here, guys. Really would love a Wasteland. Okay. That is not the worst. I can just cast that, right? I don't think it's necessary. Let's see if I can find a Vine here. We did. So that was a pretty good gambit on our part. Closing the clock here. Okay, next turn we have them. Once again, Yavimaya Cradle turning into Pump. All right, nice win for us there, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like and subscribe button. It means a lot. Feel free to leave any comments. And yeah, we're going to see you again soon, guys.